The stars looked peaceful from the bridge of the massive Zephyrian warship. Admiral Crixtal stood with his forearms crossed behind his back, watching the small yellow star grow larger on the main screen. His gray skin showed the deep scars that marked him as a veteran of 47 conquests. Each scar was a badge of honor in the Empire. "Sir, we are now entering the outer edge of the target system," reported his second officer. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. They had done this many times before. Another star system, another primitive species to add to the Empire. Crixtal nodded slowly. In 300 years, the Zephyrian Empire had never failed to conquer a world. They were the strongest force in this part of the galaxy. Their ships were huge, their weapons powerful, and their armies disciplined. Every species they met either surrendered right away or fell within days. "What do we know about these creatures?" he asked. "They call themselves humans, sir. Our scouts report they have only been in space for about 100 of their years. They have small ships and basic weapons. Their technology is far behind ours." The Admiral smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "How many worlds do they control?" "Only one, sir. Their home planet called Earth. They have some mining stations and small colonies, but nothing important." It was almost too easy. Most species the Empire conquered had at least 10 or 20 worlds. These humans had just one real planet. They would probably surrender as soon as they saw the Empire fleet. "Send the standard demand message," Crixtal ordered. Across space, the message traveled to Earth. Commander Jake Morrison was drinking coffee on the bridge of the human ship Liberty's Edge when the communication came in. He was a tall man with brown hair and tired eyes. He had been on patrol duty for 6 months, expecting nothing more exciting than checking on mining ships. "Sir, we're getting a transmission from unknown ships," said his communications officer. It's big, sir." Jake put down his coffee cup. "Put it on screen." The image that appeared made every human on the bridge go quiet. The alien was tall and gray with 4 arms. His voice was deep and cold when he spoke. "I am Admiral Crixtal of the 47th Conquest Fleet of the Zephyrian Empire. Your species has been selected for integration into our domain. You have 72 of your standard hours to evacuate all military personnel from this system and prepare for peaceful occupation. Resistance will result in complete destruction. This is your only warning." The transmission ended. Jake stared at the blank screen for a long moment. Then he turned to his crew. "Get me Captain Rodriguez at Earth Command. Right now." On Earth, Captain Lisa Rodriguez was having lunch when the emergency call came through. She was a small woman with black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been in the Earth Defense Coalition for 15 years, working her way up through the ranks. She had always wondered when humanity would meet other species. She had not expected them to arrive with threats. "Show me the fleet composition," she said as she walked quickly to the command center. Lieutenant Danny Chen pulled up the sensor data on the main screen. His face was pale as he read the numbers. "Captain, we count over 400 ships. Each one is about 3 times the size of our biggest vessels. They have weapons we can't even identify." Lisa looked at the data for a long time. The Zephyrian fleet was massive. Humanity had maybe 50 ships that could fight, and most of those were small patrol vessels like Jake's. Against 400 alien warships, they should have no chance at all. "Any word from other human colonies?" she asked. "Mars base reports the same demand message. So do the mining stations at Jupiter and Saturn. They want our entire species to surrender." Lisa walked to the big window that showed Earth below. Cities sparkled in the darkness. Billions of people lived down there. They were going about their normal lives, not knowing that aliens had just given them 3 days to give up everything. "Danny, get me all ship commanders on priority channel. Amy, I want our best pilots ready for briefing in 1 hour. Steve, start moving our defense platforms to new positions." Her staff looked confused. "Captain," said Danny carefully, "what are your orders regarding the alien demand?" Lisa turned back to face them. Her eyes were hard and determined. "Our orders? We fight." "But Captain, look at those numbers. 400 ships against 50. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. This isn't a battle we can win." "Maybe not," Lisa said. "But we're human. We don't surrender our home because someone with bigger guns tells us to. Send a message to all colonies and stations. Tell them to prepare for war. Back on the Zephyrian flagship, Admiral Krixtall was reading reports from his fleet commanders. Everything was going according to plan. The human ships were small and few. Their technology was primitive. In 72 hours this would be over. "Sir," said his communications officer, "we are receiving a response from the humans." "Excellent. I assume they are requesting terms for surrender?" "Not exactly, sir." The officer looked nervous. "The message is very short. It says, 'Come and take it.'" Krixtall frowned. In 300 years, no species had ever responded to the Empire's demands with such words. Usually they begged for mercy or tried to negotiate for more time. "What does this phrase mean in their language?" "Our translators believe it means they refuse to surrender, sir." The Admiral laughed, a harsh sound that filled the bridge. "Foolish creatures. They think their tiny ships can stand against the might of the Empire. Very well. We will show them the price of defiance." He turned to his fleet commanders. "Begin standard attack formation. We advance in 72 hours as planned. These humans will learn what happens to species that refuse the Empire's generous offer." But deep in space, things were already moving that the Admiral did not see. Human ships were quietly changing positions. Messages were being sent on channels the aliens could not detect. Plans were being made by people who had never surrendered anything in their lives. The Empire was about to learn something new about a species they thought they understood. The 72 hours passed like a countdown to destruction. Admiral Krixtall stood on his bridge, watching his fleet move into attack formation. 400 massive ships arranged themselves in perfect lines, just as they had done for 3 centuries of conquest. Each ship was a floating fortress with enough firepower to destroy a moon. "Sir, we have reached the designated attack position," reported his tactical officer. Krixtall nodded with satisfaction. His ships were spread across space in a wall of metal and weapons that stretched for thousands of kilometers. It was a sight that had made hundreds of species surrender without firing a shot. "Begin deep scans of the inner system. Where are their defensive fleets?" The scanning officer worked at his station for several minutes, his expression growing confused. "Sir, this is strange. We are detecting very few human ships in the area." "How few?" "Perhaps 20 vessels, sir. All small patrol craft. No sign of their main battle fleet." Krixtall frowned. This was not normal. Most species gathered their entire military when facing the Empire. They would form desperate defensive lines around their homeworld, hoping their numbers might make up for their inferior technology. "Where are the rest of their ships?" "Unknown, sir. Our scans show empty space. Perhaps they have evacuated to other systems." The Admiral considered this. It made sense. The humans had seen his fleet and realized they could not win. Their military commanders were probably smart enough to preserve their ships rather than waste them in a hopeless battle. "Continue the advance. They are likely hiding behind their planet, hoping we will show mercy." But the humans were not hiding behind Earth. Captain Lisa Rodriguez stood in the command center on Luna Base, watching displays that showed ship positions throughout the solar system. Her plan was unlike anything the aliens had ever faced before. "Colonel Parker, report on Stealth Squadron status," she said into her communication device. Amy Parker's voice came back clear and determined. She was floating in zero gravity inside a small fighter ship hidden deep in the asteroid belt. Around her, 50 other pilots waited in similar ships, all powered down to avoid detection. "All stealth fighters in position, Captain. We have been drifting dark for 60 hours. The aliens have scanned this area twice and found nothing." "Excellent. Commander Johnson, defense platform status?" Steve Johnson was on a space station that looked like an old mining facility. In reality, it was packed with the most powerful weapons humanity had ever built. "Platforms are ready, Captain. We look like abandoned equipment to their scanners." Lisa smiled grimly. The aliens expected humans to fight like every other species they had conquered. They expected big fleets meeting in open space, with the stronger force crushing the weaker one through superior numbers and technology. They did not expect humans to hide inside asteroid fields where the radiation would fry any normal pilot. They did not expect humans to disguise weapons platforms as space junk. They did not expect humans to split their forces into dozens of small groups scattered across the solar system. Ben, Katie, how are our outer scouts doing? Lieutenant Ben. Taylor was crammed inside a tiny ship hiding in the shadow of one of Jupiter's moons. His ship was so small that the alien sensors saw it as space debris. Beside him, Sergeant Katie Williams was in another scout ship, watching the alien fleet through powerful telescopes. Captain, the aliens are moving in perfect formation, Ben reported. They have not changed their pattern once. They move like a parade, not like a military force expecting trouble. Their communications are not even encrypted, added Katie. They are so confident that they are not trying to hide their battle plans. Lisa nodded. This was what she had hoped for. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered so many weak species that they had forgotten how to fight against an enemy that refused to play by their rules. All units prepare for Phase 1. We attack in 30 minutes. On the alien flagship, Admiral Krixtal was growing impatient. His fleet had advanced to the middle of the human solar system, and still no sign of serious resistance. A few small ships had been detected at the edge of sensor range, but they were running away rather than fighting. "Sir, we are detecting some kind of transmission from the human homeworld," reported his communications officer. "Put it on screen." The image showed Captain Rodriguez in her command center. She looked calm and professional, not like someone whose species was about to be conquered. "Admiral Krixtal, I am Captain Lisa Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Coalition. I want to give you one final chance to withdraw from our system peacefully." The alien bridge crew looked at each other in amazement. The human was offering them a chance to retreat? With 50 small ships against 400 massive warships? Krixtal laughed, the sound echoing through the bridge. "Captain Rodriguez, your bravery is admirable but foolish. Look around you. My fleet could destroy your entire civilization without significant loss. Surrender now and your people will be treated fairly under Empire rule." "I'm afraid I can't do that, Admiral. You see, you made one critical mistake when you came to our system." "And what mistake is that?" Lisa's expression hardened. "You assumed we would fight fair." The transmission ended. Admiral Krixtal stared at the blank screen, feeling the first small doubt creep into his mind. What had the human meant? "Sir, we are detecting new contacts," called out the scanning officer suddenly. "Multiple small craft coming from the asteroid belt." "How many?" 50. No, 70. "Sir, the number keeps growing. They are very small and moving very fast." On the display screen, dozens of tiny dots were racing toward the alien fleet. They were coming from all directions. From asteroid fields, from behind moons, from the radiation-filled zones near the sun where no sane pilot would hide. "Sir, they are not running away," said the tactical officer, his voice showing the first hint of concern. "They are attacking." Admiral Krixtal watched the approaching human ships with growing confusion. This was not how space battles were supposed to work. Where was their main fleet? Where were their big ships? Why were they sending tiny fighters against massive warships? "All ships, prepare to defend against fighter attack," he ordered. This should be over quickly. But as the first human fighters reached his outer ships and began their attack runs, Admiral Krixtal realized that these strange creatures called humans were about to teach the Zephyrian Empire something new about warfare. Something they were not going to like. The first human fighters hit the alien fleet like angry wasps attacking a giant. Lieutenant Ben Taylor pushed his small ship to maximum speed, racing between the massive Zephyrian warships. His fighter was so tiny compared to the enemy vessels that their big guns could not track him properly. "This is Ben to all fighters," he said into his radio. "Target their sensor arrays first. Make them blind before we hit anything else." Behind him, Sergeant Katie Williams followed in her own fighter, weaving between laser blasts that lit up the darkness of space. The alien weapons were powerful but slow, designed to fight other large ships, not small fast targets that moved like wild animals. "Katie here, I see their communication tower on the big ship. Going in for attack run." She dove toward a Zephyrian cruiser, her ship's guns firing rapidly at the tall antenna that rose from its hull. Sparks flew as her shots hit home and the antenna crumpled and fell dark. On the alien flagship, Admiral Crixtall watched his displays with growing anger and confusion. The human fighters were everywhere, striking at his ships like lightning and then disappearing before his weapons could respond. "Damage report," he demanded. "Sir, we have lost communications with 12 ships, multiple sensor arrays destroyed. The humans are targeting our ability to coordinate attacks. How many enemy fighters have we destroyed?" The tactical officer looked uncomfortable. "None, sir. They are too small and too fast. Our weapons cannot lock onto them." Crixtall slammed his fist on the command chair. In 300 years of conquest, his fleets had never failed to destroy attacking fighters quickly. These humans were flying in ways that made no sense, taking risks that should have killed them. But the real surprise was yet to come. Deep. In the asteroid belt, Commander Rick Santos had been waiting with his squadron for this moment. His ships had been hiding in the radiation shadow of Jupiter for 3 weeks, their crews living in conditions that would have killed most alien species. "All ships, this is Rick. Time to show these aliens what humans do when they threaten our home. Attack formation, Charlie. Full power." His squadron of 20 ships burst from Jupiter's radiation belt like bullets from a gun. They had been modified with stolen alien technology that Lieutenant Colonel Nina Brooks' engineering teams had been working on for months. Their weapons could now punch through Zephyrian shields. The alien fleet's left flank suddenly found itself under attack by ships that should not have been able to hurt them. Rick's modified weapons tore through their shields like paper, and explosions began to light up the darkness. "Sir, we have major hull breaches on ships 7 through 12, reported the alien tactical officer, his voice now showing real fear. "These human weapons are somehow penetrating our defensive systems." Admiral Crixtall stared at his displays in shock. Human technology was supposed to be centuries behind the Empire's. How were their weapons cutting through shields that had stopped every other species? The answer came from Captain Megan Foster, who led her destroyer group out of Saturn's rings at that moment. Her ships had been hiding in the ice and rock of the planet's ring system, using the debris as camouflage. Now they attacked the alien fleet's right side with weapons that had been rebuilt using captured Zephyrian technology. "Megan, to all ships, concentrate fire on their engine sections. If we can't destroy them, let's make sure they can't run away." Her destroyers opened fire with everything they had. The aliens found themselves being attacked from 3 directions at once by enemies who fought with a coordination they had never seen before. Every human pilot seemed to know exactly what every other human was doing. On Earth's moon, Captain Lisa Rodriguez watched the battle through her command displays. Her plan was working, but she knew the hardest part was still coming. "Danny, signal Phase 2. Tell Major Rivera to begin boarding operations." Lieutenant Danny Chen sent the coded message across space. On cue, Major Tony Rivera and his Marines launched from hidden positions throughout the solar system in small, fast boarding ships. These vessels were designed for one purpose: to punch through enemy hull armor and deliver human soldiers directly into alien ships. The Zephyrians had never faced boarding attacks during battle. In their experience, fighting happened between ships in the emptiness of space. The idea of enemy soldiers actually entering their vessels during combat was completely foreign to them. Tony's boarding ship slammed into the side of a Zephyrian cruiser, its cutting tools slicing through the hull like a can opener. He and his Marines poured through the hole they had made, wearing armor that let them fight in the vacuum of space. "Go, go, go!" Tony shouted, as his men spread through the alien ship's corridors. "Remember, we want their technology and their command codes. Fight hard, but fight smart." The alien crew inside the ship panicked. They had never trained for combat inside their own vessels. Their weapons were designed for ship-to-ship fighting, not for close combat in narrow hallways. The human Marines moved through the ship like they owned it, their smaller size letting them use the alien architecture against its builders. Meanwhile, the fighter attack continued. Ben Taylor and Katie Williams had been joined by dozens of other pilots, all of them flying with a reckless courage that terrified the aliens. They dove between the massive enemy ships, using the aliens' own vessels as cover while they struck at weak points. "Ben, I count 15 alien ships with dead engines," Katie reported. "They're sitting ducks now." "Copy that. Katie, Take your group and help the boarding teams. I'll keep the big ships busy. The space battle had become something the Zephyrian Empire had never experienced before. Instead of two fleets meeting in organized combat, it was chaos. Human fighters swarmed everywhere. Human destroyers appeared from impossible hiding places. Human marines were actually fighting inside alien ships. Admiral Crixtall watched his perfect battle formation fall apart. His ships were scattered, damaged, and confused. His crews were reporting impossible things. Humans hiding in places that should have killed them. Human weapons that could penetrate Empire shields. Human soldiers fighting inside Zephyrian vessels. "Sir, we need to reorganize our formation," his tactical officer said urgently. "The humans are using our size against us. Our ships are too big to target their small craft effectively." But Crixtall was beginning to realize something that no Zephyrian commander had ever had to face before. For the first time in 300 years, the Empire might actually lose a battle, and if they lost here, against this strange species that refused to follow the rules of civilized warfare, what would that mean for the Empire's reputation across the galaxy? The humans were teaching them a lesson in warfare that the Zephyrians were not prepared to learn. The battle had been raging for 18 hours, and Admiral Crixtall could not believe what he was seeing. His mighty fleet, which had never lost a single engagement in 3 centuries, was being torn apart by creatures that should have surrendered at first sight of his ships. "Sir, we have lost 67 vessels," his tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. "Another 43 ships have been boarded by human soldiers. Our crews are requesting permission to abandon those vessels." Crixtall stared at the battle display. Red markers showed destroyed or captured ships scattered across the solar system. This was impossible. The humans had maybe 50 fighting ships against his 400, yet somehow they were winning. "How many human ships have we destroyed?" 11 confirmed kills, sir, but they keep coming. Every time we destroy one group, another appears from somewhere else. The Admiral felt something he had never experienced before in his long military career. Fear. Not fear of death, but fear of failure. If word of this defeat reached the Empire's core worlds, it would shake the foundation of Zephyrian power across the galaxy. Deep inside the captured Zephyrian cruiser, Thunder of Victory, Major Tony Rivera and his Marines were learning things that would change everything. They had fought through the ship's corridors for hours, facing alien soldiers who had never trained for close combat. "Sergeant Davis, what did you find in their computer systems?" Tony asked as he secured the ship's bridge. Ashley Davis looked up from the alien control panel she had been working on. She was a small woman, but she had fought through 3 decks of enemy soldiers to reach this room. "Major, you need to see this. Their entire military structure is based on overwhelming force. They have never adapted to fighting smaller, faster enemies." She pulled up files on the main screen. "Look at this, sir. They have standard procedures for every type of battle, but all of them assume the enemy will fight the same way they do. Big fleets meeting in open space, trading shots until one side gives up." Tony studied the information with growing excitement. "What about their other fleets? Do they have reinforcements coming?" "That's the interesting part, sir. According to these files, the Empire never sends more than 1 conquest fleet to a target system. They figure 1 fleet is always enough. If this fleet fails, they have nothing else in range to help," Tony finished. He grabbed his radio. "Command, this is Rivera. We have captured valuable intelligence. The aliens have no backup plan if we defeat this fleet." On Luna Base, Captain Lisa Rodriguez received the message with grim satisfaction. Her gamble was paying off, but the cost was high. She had lost many good pilots and ships, and the battle was far from over. "Danny, get me. Commander Carter on the engineering channel." Helen Carter's voice came through clearly. She was aboard the human ship Defiant Dawn, which had been Lisa's flagship throughout the battle. "Captain, we've been analyzing the alien technology our boarding teams captured. I think we found something important." "What is it?" "Their shields operate on a rotating frequency pattern. If we can synchronize our weapons to match that pattern, we can punch through their defenses much more easily." Lisa felt hope rise in her chest. "How long do you need?" "Give me 2 hours and I can modify every weapon in the fleet." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Colonel Nina Brooks was leading her own boarding team through the Zephyrian command ship Eternal Dominance. She and her soldiers, including Sergeants Chris Morgan and Ashley Davis, had been fighting their way toward the ship's main computer core for 6 hours. "Nina, this is crazy," Chris said as they moved through another corridor filled with floating debris. "These aliens build their ships like mazes. How do they find anything in here?" "That's the point," Nina replied, checking her weapon's power level. "Their ships are designed to be hard to board because they never expected anyone to try. But that makes them hard for their own people to move around in, too." They reached the computer core, a massive room filled with alien technology that hummed with power. Nina's team quickly set up their equipment and began downloading everything they could find. "Colonel, you need to see this," called Sergeant Davis from across the room. "I found their military database. It has information about every species they've conquered." Nina hurried over to look at the data. What she saw made her blood run cold. 200 star systems. Billions of people enslaved or killed. And they were planning to do the same thing to Earth. But there was something else in the files that gave her hope. "Chris, look at this. Every single species they conquered either surrendered immediately or fought traditional space battles. None of them used the tactics we're using." "What does that mean?" "It means they have no experience dealing with guerrilla warfare, boarding actions, or coordinated small unit tactics. We're fighting them with methods they've never seen before." Back on the flagship, Admiral Krickstahl was facing the worst crisis of his career. His communications officer had just delivered news that made his blood freeze. "Sir, we are receiving emergency transmissions from the Empire High Command. They are demanding to know why we have not yet conquered this system." Krickstahl closed his eyes. He could not tell his superiors that a primitive species with inferior technology was defeating the Empire's finest fleet. They would never believe it. "What shall I tell them, sir?" "Tell them. Tell them we are encountering unexpected resistance. Request permission to withdraw and regroup." The communications officer stared at him in shock. "Sir, the Empire has never authorized a retreat from conquest operations." "Then we may be the first." At that moment, another wave of human fighters swept past the flagship's viewports. These pilots flew with a skill and daring that defied everything the Zephyrians knew about space combat. They rolled and spun through laser fire using moves that should have been impossible. Captain Paul Griffin led this newest attack wave, his modified fighter moving like it was alive. His engineering teams had been working around the clock to upgrade human weapons with captured alien technology, and now those improvements were showing results. "All fighters, this is Paul. The new weapon modifications are working perfectly. We can cut through their shields like they're not even there." His shots punched clean through the shields of a Zephyrian destroyer, and the ship exploded in a ball of fire and debris. Around him, other human pilots were achieving similar results. On the alien flagship, the tactical officer reported the latest disaster. "Sir, they have somehow adapted our own shield technology to penetrate our defenses. Our protective systems are now useless against their weapons." Admiral Krickstahl sat heavily in his command chair. In 18 hours, everything he had believed about warfare, about the Empire, about the natural order of the galaxy, had been shattered by a species that refused to accept defeat. "Sir, incoming message from Captain Rodriguez." "Put her on screen." Lisa Rodriguez appeared on the display, looking tired but determined. Behind her, the lights of Earth shone through the viewport of her command center. "Admiral Krickstahl, your fleet has fought bravely, but this battle is over. I'm prepared to discuss terms for your withdrawal from our system." The alien admiral stared at her in amazement. She was offering him terms. After what her people had done to his fleet, you would allow us to leave? "We're not conquerors, Admiral. We just want to protect our home. Leave our system and there will be no more fighting." For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Krickstahl found himself seriously considering retreat. The unthinkable had happened. The Empire had met an enemy it could not defeat. Admiral Krickstahl stood alone on his bridge, staring at the tactical display that showed the ruins of his once mighty fleet. Of the 400 ships he had brought to conquer this system, less than 200 remained capable of fighting. Rest were destroyed, captured, or so badly damaged they could barely move. His communications officer approached carefully. "Sir, we are receiving urgent messages from the Empire High Command. They are demanding an immediate status report." The Admiral felt the weight of 3 centuries of unbroken conquest pressing down on him. No Zephyrian fleet had ever retreated. No Admiral had ever reported failure. The Empire's power across the galaxy was built on the belief that they were invincible. "What am I supposed to tell them?" he asked quietly. "That a primitive species with tiny ships has destroyed half our fleet? That soldiers who should have been conquered in hours are now fighting inside our own vessels?" On the captured ship Thunder of Victory, Major Tony Rivera was coordinating with the other boarding teams. His Marines had taken control of 17 Zephyrian vessels, and the information they were gathering was incredible. "Command, this is Rivera. We now have access to their entire military database. These aliens have conquered over 200 star systems, but they have never faced organized resistance like ours." Captain Lisa Rodriguez listened to the report from Luna Base. Around her, the command center buzzed with activity as her staff coordinated the ongoing battle. "What else have you learned, Tony?" "Captain, their whole military doctrine is based on intimidation and overwhelming force. They show up with massive fleets, make threats, and most species surrender without fighting. The few that do resist use traditional space warfare tactics that the Empire can easily defeat. And we're different? Completely different. We hide our ships in places that would kill normal pilots. We board enemy vessels during combat. We use our own ships as weapons when necessary. We coordinate attacks across the entire solar system instead of fighting in one location. They have no training or experience dealing with any of this." Lisa nodded grimly. Humanity's approach to warfare had evolved from centuries of fighting each other on Earth. Humans had learned to use terrain, weather, surprise, and sacrifice as weapons. They had learned that sometimes the smaller, weaker force could win if it refused to play by the enemy's rules. Lieutenant Colonel Nina Brooks transmitted from the alien command ship. "Captain, I'm sending you the complete files on their Empire structure. You need to see this." The data appeared on Lisa's main screen. Star maps showed the vast Zephyrian Empire stretching across thousands of light years. But as she studied the information, she began to understand something important. "Danny, look at this. Their entire empire is held together by fear and reputation. Every species they control believes the Zephyrians are unbeatable." Lieutenant Danny. Chen studied the data. "What happens if word gets out that humans defeated them? Their empire starts to fall apart. Other species will realize the Zephyrians can be beaten." At that moment, Commander Sandra Wright's voice came over the communication system. She had been monitoring alien transmissions throughout the battle. "Captain, you need to hear this. I'm picking up emergency communications from other Zephyrian fleets throughout their empire." The intercepted messages painted a clear picture. Admiral Krikstal's fleet was not the only one that had attacked human settlements. The Empire had sent conquest fleets to Mars colonies, asteroid mining stations, and human research outposts across nearby star systems. "Captain, this is incredible," Sandra continued. "Every single Zephyrian fleet is reporting the same thing. Humans are using impossible tactics. They're hiding in radiation fields, attacking from asteroid belts, boarding alien ships during battle. Every Empire fleet is taking heavy casualties." Lisa felt a moment of fierce pride. Humanity had not just defended Earth. They had defended every human settlement across multiple star systems, using the same unconventional tactics that were working here. But the most important message came next. Sandra's voice was filled with amazement. "Captain, I'm intercepting a transmission from the Zephyrian High Command to all their fleets. They're ordering an immediate withdrawal from all human-controlled space." On the alien flagship, Admiral Krikstal received the same message. His superior's voice was cold and angry. "Admiral, the High Command has decided that these humans represent an unacceptable threat to Empire operations. You are ordered to withdraw immediately and establish a defensive perimeter around our core worlds." "Sir, does this mean we are retreating?" There was a long pause before the answer came. "The Empire does not retreat, Admiral. We are conducting a strategic repositioning to better assess this new threat." Krikstal understood. The Empire would never officially admit defeat, but they were abandoning their conquest of humanity. For the first time in 300 years, the Zephyrian Empire had met an enemy they could not defeat. He opened a channel to Captain Rodriguez. "Captain, I am prepared to discuss terms for our departure from your system." Lisa appeared on his screen, looking tired but victorious. "What terms do you propose, Admiral?" "We will withdraw all Empire forces from human space. In return, we ask that you do not pursue our retreating ships." "Agreed. But I have one additional condition." Krixtal waited nervously. "You will carry a message back to your Empire. Tell them that humans are willing to live in peace with any species that respects our independence. But tell them also that we will fight anyone who tries to conquer us, no matter how powerful they think they are." The Admiral nodded slowly. "I will deliver your message." As the battered Zephyrian fleet began its withdrawal from the solar system, humans across Earth and the colonies watched in amazement. They had faced an enemy with superior technology and numbers, an enemy that had conquered hundreds of worlds, and they had won. Captain Lisa Rodriguez stood at the observation window of Luna Base, watching the alien ships disappear into the darkness of space. Her tactical officer approached with the final battle report. "Captain, final casualty count. We lost 23 ships and 437 personnel. The aliens lost over 200 ships and thousands of crew members." Lisa nodded sadly. Victory had come at a cost, but humanity had proven something important to the galaxy. "Send a message to all human colonies and Earth," she ordered. "The alien fleet has withdrawn. We are safe." But she knew this was just the beginning. Word of humanity's victory would spread across the galaxy. Other species under Zephyrian rule would learn that the Empire could be defeated. Some might try to follow humanity's example. And somewhere in the depths of space, Admiral Krixtal was composing the most difficult report of his career. He would have to tell the Zephyrian High Command that they had encountered a species unlike any other. A species that refused to surrender, that fought with tactics no civilized military could predict, that turned their own weaknesses into strengths. He would have to tell them that humanity had announced itself to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. The age of easy conquest was over. The galaxy now knew that there was a species that would fight back, no matter the odds. The humans had won more than just a battle. They had won their place among the stars.